And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Bub and the Bloom, episode 139. It's Thursday night. That means we're here to preview the week's FAAB coming up for you, get you ready with the schedules, the most added players on CBS, two-start pitchers, and so much more. Talk about a little bit of recent news. Before we get to that, you can find me on Twitter at BDintric, the podcast at Bubba Bloom Pod, and my co-host, as always, battling the cough still on Twitter at RyanBHQ. Ryan Bloomfield, how we doing, man?
We're hanging in there. We're gonna try and get through this one. No massage today. No full body massage like yesterday, but I did come armed with some eucalyptus tea and cough drops. So we'll get through it.
So you'll smell like you're at the spa still, so it's okay. You got that going for you with the eucalyptus, but yeah, well, we'll power through this.
Good,
we'll do our thing.
I don't know if have you ever had eucalyptus tea?
I'm not a massive tea guy, to be honest, but I've smelt it. I'm the horrible I just drink coffee guy, and that's just my world I live in. So
good for the throat. Dr. Bloomfield here.
When I'm really sick, I do drink teas, but it's more like I'm more of like a lemon tea kind of guy. Give me the citrusy type situation. So that's my wheelhouse. I know that's what people tune in for. So that's what we're here. You guys, hey, you're all family with us. So come and deal with it. But Joe Rico's got one in the tank for you here. He said, look this one up. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it because I got to.
Yeah, how do you? Yeah, we have enough trouble with player names. Let's try and pronounce
Ostragalus.
Astragalus.
You know what really works when you got the sore throat situation? It's a couple hot toddies, good night's sleep. That's what you need right there. That'll do.
Tomorrow might be whiskey.
Yeah,
not tonight.
Yeah, pretty close to a hot toddy. So there you go. That'll loosen things up, or just make the voice go away completely. All right, Dom in the chat here. Bloom's 8th flu game episode of 2024. Yeah, it's what happens when you live with kids. This is what happens, folks.
Yes, I entirely blame all of this on my children.
Yes, this is what happens when your minions go to daycare and school. They bring home everything under the sun. That it's impossible. It's the best
we have two patient zeros in our household here.
Yep, that'll happen. That'll happen for sure. Let's talk about a little bit of news and notes from just Thursday, since we were with you guys yesterday on the home run to barrel Bloom board. So not a ton coming here, but some interesting stuff to look at. And there are some guys rehabbing that might be coming back soon. Just like I even saw, I didn't put it on the list, like Rhys Hoskins might return this weekend. That kind of came out of nowhere when I saw that, prepping for my first pitch show. And there's a lot of that going on. So just kind of keep your eyes and ears to that situation. But the major news from today, Pete Crow Armstrong got recalled from AAA, which kind of surprised me because dude wasn't doing much in the bigs, but they brought him back and they sent Luis Vasquez back to AAA. But the take home from this, Ryan, is Craig Counsell said PCA is going to be the primary center fielder, might play a bit in right, but they want him to play every day. So that's important because then that means Counsell said Cody Bellinger now will be the primary first baseman, which is good. Like now we got that situated, but that might mean Matt Bush goes bye-bye, which kind of makes sense. We've discussed on recent shows that his production has drastically fallen off a cliff. So we got that going. But something to kind of keep in the back of your mind, Pete Crow, everyday outfielder, Bellinger, everyday first baseman, Matt Bush out of town pretty soon probably.
Yeah, and Bush, it's funny how different April versus May has been. For Michael Bush, what he hit in April? 282 with 6 home runs in April. 217 with 2 home runs in May. So it's just crazy how how long of a season it is, but B, like for me, I was listening to the RotoWire podcast earlier today with Jeff Erickson and Joe, who's in the chat. And I kind of agree with what Joe said. Just evaluating hitters is such a damn hard thing to do because on the flip side, like while Michael Bush was on fire, you could say this is a prospect with some pedigree finally out of LA getting regular playing time, and this is going to go. And then a month later, we're stuck with this. So I agree. It's bad news for Michael Bush. I don't think Seiya Suzuki started today,
He hit a home run today.
He hit a pinch hit home run.
I'll take it. That's all I care about. Him and Morel both went deep, and Bellinger. They all went deep today. That was like a Cubby's dream right there.
Pete Crow only played 2 at-bats, and then Suzuki came in. And then Talkman went to center. So I don't know. It's just going to be a huge, feel like a little bit of a mixing pot. But if they say they want PCA to play every day, you kind of have to take your word for it. Is PCA pick upable for you again in FAAB? I mean, surely
Not
he's
right
been
now.
dropped.
He's going to have to prove it to me type situation, and that might be a we've talked many times. It could be a problem with the way I play the game, but from what he did his first time around, I haven't seen a whole lot of like, oh, this is a improvements. Like he's 6% rostered in 12s right now in OCs,
Yeah.
so he's widely available. I'm not running to go get Pete Crow. If someone else goes and takes a chance and he balls out, congratulations. I'll pay the tax next week if he has a big week. That's kind of where I'd be on this one.
The thing I'll say about Crow Armstrong is he is running. He did run in his previous stint with the Cubs, 5 for 5. He was one of the few Cubs who did run. And actually, I think it was Kevin Hastings in the chat last night who said the Cubs are running more often now this month than they were in April too. So 21% K rate for PCA. Like I think he deserves a little bit better than the 236 batting average that we've seen. But the power needs to come together. So I'm lukewarm on PCA in the short term.
I'm kind of like Jeff here. Jeff Biddle says PCA can't hit yet. Give it time. I agree. I think it's there,
Right?
But it's one of those like I had Brendan Tuma on my bench with Bubba yesterday. We talked about a lot of young hitters, and Brendan mentioned he's seen kind of a trend that, and we saw it last year. We're seeing it again this year. These second and third year players finding their groove, and we're just kind of expecting so many young players to do it, and it's just the realization of the learning curve. And kind of going back to your comment about what Joe said about trying to evaluate hitters, it's like, especially young guys, it's the old adage. I remember, like, I think it was Kruko or Kuiper said, well, like a long time ago, it's stuck in my head forever, that the key when a young pitcher comes up, or a young hitter comes up, every pitcher goes, can you hit my fastball? Okay, cool. Like, because most professional hitters can hit a fastball, but prove it. Once they prove they can hit a fastball, now the pitcher makes adjustments with off-speed stuff and everything else and matching up the sequences. Now can the young player adjust to that? And that's what usually takes longer for these guys to do. And that's kind of the dynamics of the situation. And maybe we're seeing it even more difficult now for young players because there's so much more scouting at AAA and so much more data at AAA that they come up and there's already like a book on these kids. And that could be something as well. So I believe a lot of these young guys that are struggling are going to be pretty good. But it's just a matter of, when is the question. And that's where I usually miss out on these situations.
It's definitely been a theme of the season so far. With, obviously the higher profile prospects, your Wyatt Langford, Evan Carter, Jackson Churio. It's been rough.
Yep, definitely. Gialdi in the chat here says, I listened to yesterday's pod. Glad to finally have Ryan on the Vinny P wagon.
Yeah, man. Homer today.
Deep. Yep, that
Homer today. So, maybe Vinny listens to the pod.
That'd be amazing. He's always welcome.
Get that pulled barrel.
Always welcome if he does. Randy Leeson says Suzuki has the body of a 40-year-old. Yeah, he's probably.
So does Bubba.
There. Yes, yeah. At least I earned it. We have Adam in the chat. PCA is probably only if you have an auto drop player on the roster like the Acuna owner. That's fair. It's a very good point. Like if you have one of those situations there, but I think there's going to be some other outfielders we'll talk about that I'd like. Okay, well, I could save it for FAAB, but we'll do it here because we're talking PCA. Like, would you rather go and get like a Kevin Pillar or a PCA?
Kevin Pillar.
Yeah, but that's the point. I think I'd rather take these guys that are actually hitting right now and not risk the PCA situation is where I'm kind of going on that one. So we'll see. It's gonna be fun for sure. Next big bit of news here, and this is a bummer because Clark Schmidt was dealing this year. He had the strikeouts pumping. He was doing it all. Just one of the 5 amazing pieces in that Yankees rotation. Clark Schmidt is going to be shut down. He will not throw for 4 to 6 weeks with his lat injury. It's going to be a while, is the quote that they said. He had an MRI on Wednesday with Dr. Neal. It's not attached anymore in Los Angeles.
Reattach.
Yeah, reattached. Cody Poteet will start on Saturday for the Yankees, so he'll enter the rotation for now, subject to change at all times, as the Braves have proven. They will just rotate if possible. But, man, if he's not throwing for 4 to 6 weeks and he has to ramp back up, this feels almost like we're talking 2.5 to 3 months potentially. If it like you're hoping he heals properly in general, so it's at least a 2-month, if not longer, situation in my mind. So not good at all for Clark Schmidt fans out there.
Yeah, and I agree with Anthony in the chat. R.I.P. Clark Schmidt. You can't hold. There's just the amount of time of no action and then the ramp up and risk for setbacks and all that stuff. You just can't do. Not really all that interested in Cody Poteet. I did do a little check-in on draft and hold darling, at least for me. Will Warren for the Yankees.
Dealing,
I was like, what's he been doing? I don't know, man. He has an 8.53 ERA in AAA, so that's not great.
He's looked good before that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he
So,
looked
yeah.
good. I mean, he was really good entering the season.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard much of from Will Warren this year, and I was like, wait, will it be Will Warren time to a stash there or something? But it's a 10% walk rate, 23% K rate, and AAA to have a 681 FIP. Not great. So it doesn't sound like it's Will Warren time anytime soon. And yeah, like I said, Cody Petit, not so much.
It's kind of like we said before the show discussing it. Petit is there to hold the door until Garrett Cole is back.
Right.
And Garrett Cole could be starting his rehab assignment next week. But that still probably means 4 starts at least because it's his spring training now. So they're not going to rush him back by any means because the Yankees are contending for a World Series right now. They're playing that well. So they don't want to rush Cole back. But Petit's just holding the seat warm until Cole gets here. And then you have to worry about Luis Eel's innings and so on and so forth. But I think Cole's the main I don't say winner because he's coming back to rotation no matter what, but it makes it a lot easier to figure out the rotation for now for the New York Yankees. Last bit of news I was going to mention, there's been no real updates yet, but Zach Gallen was removed after 6 pitches on his start on Thursday with a hamstring injury, which is a bummer. He's always getting banged up, it feels like, but 6 pitches is obviously not good. We'll have to wait more information, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on that one.
Not great. We don't know the extent, so I guess we'll shelve it, but keep an eye on obviously on that one heading into FAAB. It's highly likely not a cuttable situation or anything like that, but just haven't really looked to see what Arizona has in the pipeline, but
it's going to be a former friend. I'm guessing. Let me find his names. I don't completely screw it up, but I'm guessing it's a Tommy Henry or a Slade Ciccone situation. Those are your
our
two
buddy
guys.
Tommy Henry. Slade is half streamable.
He's half streamable. He had a rough last 2 hurrahs out there, but prior to that looked pretty serviceable. So I'm imagining Slade would get the first nod if something were to happen to Zach Gallen to hit the IL. So keep that in mind if you're fabbing this weekend. All right. Speaking of FAAB, let's get crack-a-lackin', Mr. Bloomfield. We have a fun one here. Week 11, as usual. We'll do schedules. We'll do CBS most added, and we will do 2-start pitchers. So what do you have, if you have anything to add as, per se on this one?
We've got the London series this week, man, or next weekend. So I was looking at the schedule and I was like, man, my sheet looks messed up because the Mets host Philadelphia, then go to Philadelphia on back-to-back days. And I was like, what? But no, the Mets and Phillies play 5 games next week and are off on Thursday and Friday. Play Saturday, Sunday, and I believe are off the following Monday to come back across the pond. So keep an eye out on that. I mean, the London series, even though it's a 2-game weekend, typically has been a run-scoring bonanza. Yep. So probably worth still keeping your fringe Mets and Phillies in there. Outside of that, you've got Tampa with 5 games and Miami with 5. That's it. Your 7 gamers: Arizona, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Colorado, half at home. San Diego, St. Louis, Toronto, Washington with all 7. So pretty good week. Our White Sox are 73 WRC plus, by far now the worst hitting lineup in baseball. The Yankees and Dodgers are tied for the best WRC plus in baseball, which is at 122, which is just amazing. So I don't know. Again, this is all on the YouTube stream, on the video stream for anyone who wants to watch this thing. We've got each team got the WRC plus, their games versus lefty, righty, and opponents. So we'll go through it, man.
Yep, we'll have some fun with this as usual. So let's get started. Talking Arizona Diamondbacks. They got 7 games this week. They come to they play at home against the Giants for 3, and then at San Diego for 4. A little California loving this week. 7 games, 2 lefties, 5 righties. I will say that first Giants game is an opener situation, so it's a lot of bullpen. They've been doing this lately, and it's been actually kind of serviceable the last 2 times out. So it's not as much of a walk in the park as some would think, but still overall not the most difficult schedule, as Harrison is struggling a lot. Hicks isn't. He's all or nothing, it feels like. and then Musgrove, Waldron, Darvish has messed up the last 2 starts. Interesting schedule for the D-backs.
Yeah, if Darvish even makes that start. I know Darvish left with I think it was a hamstring.
Yep.
After 3 innings or something like that. So, yeah, reasonable schedule. It's enough. It's with the 5-game righties for Arizona. It is Jock Peterson time.
Yep, Jock James.
It is. Well, is it Jake McCarthy time? Yeah, it can be Jake McCarthy time. 283 batting average, 5 steals, starting to run a little bit. I like those 2 ads this week with the 5 games.
Yeah, Jock Jam's 26% rostered right now in NFBC OCs. Jake McCarthy, a whopping 3% rostered these days. So maybe more of a deep league player near the bottom of a waterfall in the outfield type situation. Like I like just saying that, and that's why we mentioned a bunch of these names. Is a lot of people are looking to fill a lot of spots. So don't just put like 3 guys in your waterfall and end up with the same scrub on your team that you didn't get to add anybody. Throwing like a McCarthy for a buck at the end and a 12-team or something just in case is not the worst thing that can happen. So at least you're going to improve your team and maybe get better at bats this week. So something to always keep in mind doing your FAAB bidding. The Atlanta Braves, they get 6 games this week, all on the road. 2 in Boston, 4 in Washington, 2 lefties, 4 righties in this one. And it's a pretty interesting schedule. The Braves bats are scuffling mightily of late. Like the Nationals just went in with Mackenzie Gore, Jake Irvin, by the way, just throwing that one back out at you, and Trevor Williams all dealt in Atlanta to top it off, and now they get to add Parker to the list next week.
And the big pickup with Atlanta this week is Adam Duvall. I mean, we talked about him on the Tuesday show, but this week, the Wednesday show, I think Adam Duvall is probably the top hitter unless we come across someone I like even more. But I think Adam Duvall is your target if you need power on waivers this week. I mentioned on the last show that yes, Duvall has been a short side platooner on the Braves, but he can also hit right-handed pitching. He can do both. So this is Adam Duvall week. It's interesting to see with Acuna out. We have a little bit of a read on what the lineup looks like. Michael Harris is leading off against right-handed pitching, hitting 7th against lefties. Who the hell's leading off against lefties? Ozzie Albies is leading off against lefties. So that's kind of how they are working it there with Duvall and Kelnick. Sean Murphy's back. They're rounding out that bottom of the order with Orlando Arcia.
Yeah, Albies has always been kind of a lefty masher per se, if that makes sense. But he'll be a fun one to have there. Duvall only 15% rostered in 12, so that'll be a fun bidding war this week. This is one of those where if you need an outfielder, you're gonna have to just tell yourself, is Adam Duvall usually worth triple digits? No. Will he go for triple digits this week? Possibly. So just be aware of that. Like, I can't bring myself to do it, but that's the world we live in right now, where if he's going to play every day, like we talked about on the Wednesday show, this dude does have like 40 home run power and 120 RBIs in a full season type setup. So it's hard to find this time of year. I don't love it. I'm probably be stuck in if I need an outfielder, I'll probably be in the $50 to $70 range. But
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
for Duvall.
But with as wild as those C's are, and some he'll go for a buck in some. That's just how it's going to work, and you're going to be pissed. I'm just telling you right now. But there will be some leagues where we're going to see some hefty bidding on Adam Duvall from guys that did not bid on anybody so far this season. So just be very aware of that when it comes to your OC bidding this week. All right, let's talk Baltimore Orioles here. One of the best offenses in baseball. They got 7 games this week, all on the road. They get at Toronto for 4, then at Tampa Bay for 3. They get 6 right-handed pitchers. Most guys are rostered except one of your favorite guys. Who should we be picking up this week, Ryan?
A guy with a great name, Ryan O'Hearn. I feel like I say that every week because Baltimore's been playing a good chunk of righties lately, and Ryan O'Hearn, again, hitting 3rd every day against righties in a great lineup. So I will continue to pound that drum. This is a little bit tough of a schedule. Gossman's starting to look pretty good again.
Yes, thank goodness.
Taj Bradley looks good. Lytle's fine. Barrios pretty good. I don't know if Manoah will make that start, but
yeah, I think Manoah might be finding another trip to the IL here pretty soon.
But no, great week for Ryan O'Hearn. I don't see any other O's worth grabbing this week.
I'll mention Jorge Mateo again. Like batting average wise, it's been a couple of rough weeks, but he's only 50% roster in 12s. Steals a ton still, even though like he's not hitting for average. He gets on base, scores runs in that kind of offense. He's had weeks where he hits for good average, so it kind of always balances out where he's going to get 240, 250 in the end. But he can get you a ton of steals because he's playing every day. So he'd be a guy I'd keep an eye on as well. So we'll see.
He is. Yes, Mateo is the everyday second baseman, and he can run. So
keep an eye on him. Boston Red Sox, they have 6 games this week. They're at home for 2 against the Braves and then 4 at wonderful Chicago White Sox, baby. Or Boston.
I think Bubba, you freeze again?
Yeah, we're having these StreamYard issues once again, so I apologize, everybody.
You're good. You're back.
Yeah, to Boston.
I don't know. There's not. I mean, Wilyer Abreu maybe. David Hamilton's not that interesting to me. I think that Dom Smith boat has sailed, so I don't know. There's not a whole lot here that I'm interested in.
Yeah, Wilyer Abreu is now 100% rostered in 12, so he's pretty much gonzo. But I will mention, it's been mentioned in the chat, Rob Refsnyder, he's playing every day right now.
Yep.
And he's hitting third, and that was mentioned in the chat. But like I'm looking at his stats, he's playing well. He's hitting over 300 for 3 straight weeks. 4 of his last 4, almost all but 1 week this year, he's hit over 300, which is pretty impressive for Refsnyder. A couple home runs, like 1 steal, but hitting in the middle of that offense in a good offensive week is not a bad spot for Rob Refsnyder, who, as I looked it up, is 0% rostered in 12s. So another guy like a McCarthy, you could throw like a shekel on and get a guy to play every day for you.
What is Vaughn Grissom's percentage?
Dude, I think he's on the drop list. He's on the drop list for me, but
he
62% still, 30% started.
So Vaughn Grissom is our current Gene Segura Award winner, All-Star, whatever we want to call it, of someone who is, it sounds like potentially or in your lineup in 12 teamers and definitely in 15 teamers. Vaughn Grissom, who we stashed because at least I stashed, and I think he was pretty widely rostered throughout, is hitting 149 with no homers, no steals, 3 RBI, 5 runs, and 80 plate appearances, man. Like that is the definition of doing absolutely nothing. So it's I don't know. Like in 15s, I think I still have him. Like I'm testing some patience there, but in 12s, I think he's gone. At least, the very least, Vaughn Grissom should not be in your lineup until he shows he can do something.
Definitely. And poor Pat Monahan in the chat here. Refsnyder's owned in my 12-teamer. Just to top it off. That's a sharp group. Sharp group, buddy. Sharp group.
3% you said? That's
0% no C's, so it must be
okay.
I've had weird roster rates on those from certain things, so that's pretty interesting situation there, but definitely. Michael Cicchini in the chat says he has a Gene Segura nominee, Jorge Soler, just consistent offers. He's putting up good OBP numbers, but not a whole lot else. It's been brutal from Soler.
Yep,
sure.
I could see that. That's a good call.
Chicago Cubs, they got 6 games this week. They have 2 at home versus the White Sox. A lot of 2-game series to start out the week. 2 at home versus the White Sox. 4 in Great American Small Park, which is outstanding, but it's Green, Lodolo. They've both been good, Abbott and Montas. So 2 lefties, 4 righties for the Cubbies. Pete Crows, like we mentioned this situation earlier. Ian Happ's heating up. Anything standing out to you with the Cubs?
I mean, we just talked about the Cubs with the injury news, so or with the PCA news, so I don't have too much to add. Yeah, Michael Busch is nearing drop territory, if not there already. Ian Happ is heating up. We talked about Ian Happ on the Homer to Barrel show. Cody Bellinger is doing a little bit. I want to see Seiya Suzuki still play every day. Not happy with that benching, at least to start the game today, but pretty easy schedule for the Cubs. I mean, Woodford and Flexen, like that's God.
It's beautiful.
That's beautiful. And then I mean, Green Lodolo is tough, but Abbott, I don't think Abbott is all that. And then Frankie Montas has kind of been on the struggle bus. So it's a nice schedule for the Cubs.
The thing with Montas is not the struggle bus, it's the annoying bus, because he gives up like 3 or 4. He doesn't get blown up, but he doesn't like dominate anymore. So it's a tough guy to like, at least for DFS. It's hard to stack against Montas and be happy in that situation. Chicago White Sox, you mentioned it, worst offense in baseball. They get the Cubs in Wrigley for 2 and then 4 at home against the Boston Red Sox. 5 righties out of 6 games. I've told you I've given up on Gavin Sheets. That ship has sailed. They just sent Brian Ramos back to AAA for God knows what reason. I'm sorry, Mike Carter and company. If you're still a White Sox fan, I'm sorry. This team is just a disaster.
Yeah, and I mean hitting Nicky Lopez second. I mean it's just it's awful. I don't see any.
They're going to trade Tommy Pham eventually, so it just gets better.
They have to, yeah. So it's just going to be. I mean, they're going to be the ultimate team to stream against. I don't see. I don't see why you'd roster.
We can mention the one guy we've talked about a few times. He's up to 52% rostered in OCs. Corey Lee is worth the start. He's already got a steal, I think, this week. He got a home run on Wednesday. Like Corey Lee is a good catcher too. So that is a dude. If you need someone, he's pretty much the primary catcher now. You can go there. I will admit, I sadly had to roster Paul DeJong in Tout Wars because I needed a middle infielder.
I saw that. I was going to text you when I saw it. I was like, dude, what are you? How many noons did you have today?
He was the 3rd on the waterfall. Let's specify that. But
pretty high up there, man.
In the 15, where there's unlimited ILs, the pool for eligible middle infielders is not great. It's not great at all. So I had to suck that one up and see where it goes. But as a whole, I'm going to be nice to say bad team. I'm going to rephrase the word bad team, Chicago White Sox.
One interesting thing, we both picked up Cooper Criswell in some leagues this past week and got Criswelled, I guess, on Monday. Yep. He will have one more start this weekend. But Cooper Criswell, we'll see how he looks this weekend, but Cooper Criswell going against the White Sox next week, I'm probably holding him unless he just gets destroyed again this coming weekend. So
it's a good mention on Criswell because he almost, like, when we talked about him, I think it was either last week for the 2-step. It had to be last week for the 2-step. We talked about him, and he gets blown up by Baltimore. That's a tough start. That's fair. But prior to that, he had not given up more than 3 earned runs in any outing. He's been getting strikeouts. It's a hiccup. Shoto Monaga just got blown up. Like, these guys get hit. Not saying Criswell and Monaga are the same pitcher by any means, but the comparison I made on last week's show is Criswell reminds me a lot of Ben Lively. A lot of similarities. They're going to have rocky outings, but they're going to be extremely serviceable at other times. That White Sox start next week is a very serviceable Cooper Criswell start, where it's one of those, if I'm wrong, I'm happy to, like, I'm cool, okay being wrong, not happy, I'm okay being wrong, because that's like a good spot to go to. And then maybe drop after that or kind of see where he goes. And maybe he's like another Kyle Gibson. He's a bench streamer. You can't drop him because you're going to use him off and on throughout the season. So people were like furious at Cooper Criswell. It sucked. Anytime a Monday start goes bad, it's never good. It's like the worst feeling. But if you look at the grand scheme, it's why I always in Roto, we just want the end numbers. We just want the end numbers. So the reason you added them, stick the course. That's what I'm trying to say. Cincinnati Reds. This is glorious. They get 3 in Coors Field, 4 at home in Great American Small Park. The pitching matchups aren't going to, like, obviously Colorado doesn't scare you because they're not pitching Quantrill or Gomber. And then maybe Justin Steele's back. Ben Brown's been good. And Monaga, we'll see. But still, it's in Great American. 3 lefties, 4 righties. I get as many Reds as you can this week. It's been a bad offensive late too. It's been a bad offensive late, so I will say it. But I'd get on the train.
This is the week if they're going to turn around. You kind of do it. I mean, next weekend against Steele, Brown, and Shota is probably pretty tough. But to start out with 3 at Coors with Feltner, and no, I am not starting Ryan Feltner this week. Block and Hudson, like, yes, you wanna snag some Reds. I mean, Jake Fraley's pretty widely rostered. He's been great, but 3-4 split kind of makes it tough. So I don't know. What do you think? Like, Jeimer Candelario is probably pretty.
Yeah, he's heavily rostered.
That's what I'm doing. Will Benson's been hitting 8th, 9th against righties. So I'd maybe take a shot on him for the first part of the week and see how that goes.
Yeah, that's the problem. I'm looking at their roster right now, and they're actually kind of healthy. So all their guys are good. Like, we're not getting, like, Martini be the only guy if you really felt like it, but I wouldn't go there. like Stuart Fairchild. It's not enough lefties to get excited. It's one of those weird weeks where if you have them, awesome, but it's going to be pretty tough for sure.
One last thing with the Reds is, Noelvi Marte has to be coming back soon, right?
I haven't heard anything on him. That's a great point. That's a great point. Haven't heard a word about Marte, which is kind of odd. Kind of odd, actually.
I don't know when he comes back, if he would go straight to the
I'd imagine
majors,
AAA get loose in AAA and then he'd come to the majors.
He's been suspended 80 games, so that's not far away. I'm just saying, like in shallower mid leagues, like you can't IL Noelvi Marte. So he might still be on waiver wires. It might be time to.
The hard part is in an NPCs, if he wasn't drafted, you have to wait.
Yeah. Yep. But in other formats, like I don't know, if you've got the room, I think it's worth at least stashing.
Yep, that's a good call. Pat says
in the chat, yep,
Marte has 3+ more weeks,
which isn't that long for a stash. I mean,
yeah, that's fine.
So something to think about.
Michael Cicchini says Novelli worked out in the Dominican Republic, then can do a rehab length minors prior to return. So yeah, we're a lot of reports here. He's ramping up in the Dominican right now so he'll be ready to go probably pretty quickly, actually. So that's good. Good call on that one, Bloom. I like that one a lot. Cleveland Guardians, they have 6 games this week. They have 3 at home versus the Royals and 3 at the Miami Marlins. Pretty nice hitting schedule. Problem is 3 lefties, 3 righties. Pick your fighter.
You can't. Yeah, they stream so much that you can't. I mean, the David Fry train is full speed. Would think he's rostered on pretty much every team, and then really your 88%. Fringe. What's that?
88%. So yeah.
Your fringe Guardians are platoon bats, and it's a 3-3 split. So even though it is a nice schedule, like from an opposing pitcher standpoint, the 3-3 split makes it tough to really go for any kind of weekly streamer. I still like Tyler Freeman. He's leading off every day against lefties and righties. If still available, I think it could be a good week for him leading off against a pretty weak schedule. But outside of that, Andres Jimenez is playing every day again. He didn't play against lefties for a while.
I'm going to put a little cold water on your Freeman thing. Stephen Kwan is supposed to return this weekend.
Okay. Yeah.
Or start his rehab assignment this weekend, and he returns early next week. It's one of the two. But Kwan's going to be back very soon.
Freeman will still play, though. He won't lead off.
He should.
He should.
He should play. Yes, he should.
That shouldn't sound so matter of fact, but when, he should.
Gioli's got a fun side quest: acquire Fry, Fried, and Friedel on the same squad. That's a good one. Good one. Here you go. Quan has been rehabbing for over a week now. I think he's back tomorrow. Yeah, that's okay. So that's where I thought it was. I thought it's returning Friday, but I had to make sure in my head. So thank you, Dom, in the chat. Yeah, Quan should be back any day. So you'll get a good read on your Freeman situation by the end of the weekend on how that one goes.
Yep.
That'll give you some promising news for sure. Colorado Rockies, they have 7 games this week. They have 3 at home versus Cincinnati. Then they head to St. Louis for 4, which isn't the worst. Like, the offense in Colorado sucks. The pitching matchups aren't that bad, though. So this is kind of a weird dynamic for Colorado. It's hard to run out and go add Colorado Rockies, but it's not a bad week to stream some if you're in deeper formats, I'll say.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, I don't know who you're going after. Charlie Blackmon has shown some life recently, but is only playing against righties. He is in a pretty much a full platoon, but it is a 6 righty week for the Rockies. So maybe something there. Weekly Lance Lynn weather check. It's at home against, he's at home with St. Louis. So let's see how that works out, but it won't be in the road grays. So don't know if we'll get the full Lance Lynn effect.
If anybody could sweat through the whites, it's that boy. Don't you worry.
Yeah. So,
Sean Bouchard could be a dude playing every day if you're looking for someone. I'm not in love with him, but he's unowned in 12s, so he could be a potential guy if you're feeling like adding some Rockies. But again, it's the Rockies. The offense as a whole stinks. Pitching matchups are good, though, when you get 3 at home. And then, like, Lynn, Gibson's been good. Palante had a good start in Great American, but I'm not sold on his. He seems like a pitch-to-contact guy, so I'm not sold on him. So it could be more interesting than we think. Like the Rockies, just when they went into Oakland, again, bad pitching, they scored a ton of runs. So they have it in them, and that can be kind of a sneaky look if you need to in deeper formats. Detroit Tigers, they have 6 games this week. They are at Texas for 3, at home for 3 versus Milwaukee. 1 lefty, 5 righties on the docket this week, which bodes well if you can stream some Tigers. And the Tigers are one of the best teams with right-handed pitching over the last month of baseball, like a 114 WRC plus, hitting over 260. They're not a walk in the park right now.
That's interesting. I didn't realize they've been that effective lately. Matt Vierling is on a little bit of a heater, so I think you try and ride that wave until it well, I shouldn't say inevitably crashes. Matt Vierling's got some skills. I know Corbin Young in the offseason, when we had him on talking Baseball Forecaster, he was very high on Matt Vierling. So hitting second, I believe, most days for Detroit. So I like I like him as a pickup. Outside of that, I don't know, man. Unless you see anything, I wish they would play Andy Ibanez.
Yeah, that's a buzzkill.
That's a strict soft platoon or short side platoon. Akil Baddoo is back.
That's the one I was going to mention.
Homer today. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's for probably deeper formats if you're feeling it, but he's unowned in 12s. Winfield Perez is still 75% rostered and leading off daily. If you're in the right league, he could be available, but I think it's a great week to get into some Detroit Tigers. The pitching matchups aren't totally scary. Like Peralta's good, but, Eovaldi, he's not going deep right now. I know his first start back, but they're going to baby him. Urania's not good. Bryce Wilson's not great. Like, there are some nice matchups for Detroit if you can, play your cards right. Houston Astros, solid offense as usual. They got 6 games this week. They face the Cardinals at home for 3, and then go to Anaheim for 3. This is the best K-to-walk matchup on the entire week. 2 lefties, 4 righties. Problem is, not a lot available.
Yeah, you need to look and see if Jake Myers is still around, still hanging on your waiver wire, because that's the move. If so, but agree, like John Singleton, Jose Abreu is back. Chas McCormick is back, but he has only started 2 of the last 6 games. So, like, it's a great schedule. It's the best schedule of the week, but I don't know if there's much actionable, if you can actually make any moves based on it. If, unless Jake Myers is still around.
Yeah, no, Jake Myers is 80% rostered in OC. So 20% of your leagues, you still have a shot to go pick up some Jake Myers if you're feeling the itch. All right, Kansas City Royals, they have 6 games this week. They're at Cleveland for 3, at home versus Seattle for 3, which is always a tough sledding. Any Seattle matchup, essentially. The 3 at Cleveland, not bad, especially the first 2, McKenzie and Allen. So Kansas City, pretty darn good offense. Not a lot of running to go pick up, though.
No, I mean, let's pour some out for Mount Massey. Let's pour some out for our guy. This would have been a week for him.
Yep.
This would have been a week for him. So, no, I don't. I don't know. Maybe Kyle Isbell has MJ Melendez been doing anything lately?
He did go deep. He went deep on Thursday, but I'm not caring about him.
Yeah, and Isbell. Did you see that Kyle Isbell fouled the ball off and hit his face?
Yeah, that's how he got contusions on his face. Missed a few games. Yeah, impressive stuff. But
that was nasty.
We'll see where that one lands. Michael Cicchini in the chat says here, when you get to Kansas City, drop Bo Naylor for Fermin. Fermin hasn't done much either. Is the problem?
Right? Yeah, I'd keep Naylor.
The problem. I'd keep Naylor in that situation. Like, I dropped Naylor last week for David Fry, and I dropped Naylor for Corey Lee. I've done those moves.
Yes.
Fermin, not so much. Like, it's just not really there right now. This is the one that I agree with Uncle Ted. Nelson Velasquez is the Royals guy to grab. I picked him up in a few leagues last week. He was on Waterfalls. I didn't get him in. I'm going to try for him again this week if I need outfielders. He's a very streaky hitter, and he's streaking very well right now. This is the guy you want to jump on while you can. Similar to Duvall, it's the 35 to 40 home run bat, and he's starting to find it. Will he go in slumps? 100%. He is a Jorge Soler clone, essentially. So just know that's coming. But right now he's hitting, and get on the train while you can. Like we said, it's a great week to get Royals bats, and Velasquez will play pretty much every day.
Double dong this week.
Yes, he did double dong. That made me feel you got my one of my most used gifts on that one. So he's no Ryan Jeffers, but he's getting there. So that's pretty good. Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, they have 6 games this week, all at home. They get the Padres for 3 and then the Astros for 3. Pretty tough sledding for the Angels if your name's not Luis Rengifo. So I will raise my hand. I picked up Kevin Pillar in a few places last week. That happened. Again, like where I didn't get Jake Myers, I got Pillar pretty much. But I'm waiting for that to end and drop him. But that'd be like my one main guy to mention. Otherwise, this team's been treading water right now.
Yeah, and Pillar's still like I think you go with him while he's hitting. They're still not playing him like against every righty, which is, I mean, why not? Like, what else did the Angels have?
Willie Calhoun, really? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah. So I don't know. No, I'm not going to get Willie Calhoun, Moniak, Luis Guillerme. It was a scare for Zach Neto this past week, but with that, I think it was the elbow injury, but he's back, so I'm happy for him and my teams for that. But no real pickups on the Angels this week. It's rough.
I'm with you. Los Angeles Dodgers, they have 6 games this week, all on the road. They get Pittsburgh for 3. They get Jones and Skeens. That's fun. And then they get the Yankees for 3. Dodgers are doing Dodgers things for the most part, unless they run into like some random – I can't remember who they just played, and they got shut down for like 3 games. That was hilarious. But should be a fun week, especially like that weekend.
I think Bubba went black again.
Yep. Yes, I did. So what do you got for the Dodgers?
Tough schedule. Tough schedule. Appointment viewing. We've got Jared Jones and Paul Skeens against the Dodgers on, I believe, Monday and Tuesday. So that's going to be absolutely awesome. I can't wait to watch that. It will get a little bit easier on the back half. Although Luis Heel, man, has been like the guy this year. It's someone I don't think we've really talked about that much. At least I haven't. Just been quietly like one of the biggest pickups of fantasy this year. Dodgers, though, like it's a 2-4 week. They platoon a lot right now. Andy Pajes is somehow still playing, although the Dodgers have faced a lot of lefties lately. So Andy Pajes' time as a regular might be coming to an end this coming week. We'll see about that. But you basically got a lefty-righty platoon with Gavin Lux, Chris Taylor, Jason Hayward going against righties, and then Miguel Rojas, Vargas, and Hernandez against lefties. And I don't think they're gonna stray from that very much.
No, they're not. They're gonna continue to do their thing, and they might get Bobby Miller back next week. He's got about one more rehab start to go, so Bobby Miller could be rejoining the rotation next week. I know Dom in the chat here mentioned speculate on Landon Knack. Speaking of the Dodgers, if Miller misses his start, Knack would be the dude to look at for sure, and he would probably line up against the Yankees, though, is the problem in that scenario. So not sure I'd be knacking on that door.
Oh, good. I like that one.
Miami Marlins on this one. They got 5 games this week, one of the 5-game teams you mentioned here. They're all at home, though, 2 against Tampa Bay, 3 against the Guardians. The weekend series is nice with Lively, Curry, and McKenzie. Curry should be back out of the rotation if things change, but you never know with Cleveland. I'm going to just throw that out there because Curry's been getting yo-yoed based on injuries lately. So we'll see how that one plays out. But Cookie Carrasco might be back, which still means you can start your guys against him. Who do you like on the Marlins if you're playing the weekend streaming game? It's all right-handed pitchers.
Yep. It's Jesus Sanchez, but only for next weekend because the 2 mid-game week is tough. Do you think Jake Berger's ever going to turn it around, man?
I think he's still hurt. Talked about him with Tuma, and you look at his numbers since he came back from the IL, and it is like a corpse of the Jake Berger we know. I'll just pull him up here real quick. I know it's 1 homer since he returned, which you drafted the guy for his power, but he returned on May 6th, and it's been bad. He's hitting a whopping $190 with a home run, 5 runs, and 5 RBIs, only walking 2%, 25% K rate, 6.5% barrel with a 43% hard hit rate. Like, it's not the Jake Berger we know. I think he's hurting.
Yeah, with the IL stint around that, like that raises suspicion. I was just curious.
55% ground ball rate. Also, everything's on the ground right now.
Yeah, we don't want that from the big man.
Yeah. So
One last Miami name is I've been beating the drum before, I think, but Otto Lopez continues to hit pretty well, hitting 273, 3 homers, 3 steals with a lot of contact, not many whiffs, decent power, and a good running game, and playing every day. So maybe not the best like streamer for this week, but in deeper leagues where you need middle infield, I think Otto Lopez, I'm starting him in a couple 15 teamers and happily doing so right now. He's hitting pretty well.
yep, I'm with you on that one. Milwaukee Brewers, they have 6 games this week, all on the road. They're at Philadelphia for 3, at the Tigers for 3. That Tigers series looks pretty good because they missed the big guns. They missed Flaherty and they missed Skubal. So that's pretty sweet for the weekend. 1 lefty and 5 righties on the docket for the Brew Crew. Problem is, most of these guys are probably taken unless you can scrape up an Ortiz or something out there.
Right. Agreed. I don't, yeah. Maybe Joey Ortiz is hanging around somewhere, but outside of that, dude, Jackson Churrio's only played, like, he's almost a part-timer now.
Yeah, I could see him
wild.
finding AAA pretty soon, honestly.
Like, I wonder, right, like,
he needs regular at-bats.
I wonder in 12-teamers, like, are people starting to say, he has been dropped in some 12-teamers. He's 98% rostered, 76% started, but Jackson Churrio quietly, hasn't been that good, but now with part-time playing time, it's almost like a minor league stash guy. It's tough to start him.
Yep, I'm with you there. Dom in the chat says, does Bryce Wilson still have his 2-step next week? Looking at the initial here, it looks like no. It looks like they'll have a 6-man next week. But that is all subject to change because that's requiring some guys returning from the IL, like Joe Ross. If Joe Ross comes back Saturday, then Bryce Wilson will not. If Joe Ross does not come back, Bryce Wilson will throw on Sunday. So he'll get his 2-step. So it's not set in stone yet, Dom, but looks like he could be losing his 2-step this week. All righty here. Next up on the docket here, Minnesota Twins. They have 6 games this week, all on the road. 3 in the Bronx, 3 at Pittsburgh. Only Jones, no Skeens in that one. 1 lefty, 5 righties. Another big lefty week for the Minnesota Twins.
Yep, lefty week for the hockey team, for the Twins, with the shift change. It's your normal Edward Julian, Max Kepler, Trevor Larnach, and then if you're really desperate, Alex Kirilloff. But the Kirilloff is hitting 3rd and 5th against.
He's had a good week. I'll give him that much, but it's been a while.
Kirilloff's more of a deeper league play, but yeah, 5 righties for Minnesota is pretty good. Although it is, it's not that bad. It's not that
wild.
Bad. I don't know. Luis Heel.
It's wild
Jones
to me. Larnach's only 11% rostered in 12s right now. That's wild to me.
Off.
Yeah, like he's been playing really well. His hit tool's been outstanding this year. So like he had 2 bad weeks, but or 3 bad weeks in the middle after crushing. He's crushing it again. He had 3 home runs or a home run and 3 ribbies this past week already. So I wouldn't give up on him yet with these matchups they have coming up. Like you said, Eel's tough. Stroman's more of a pitch to contact. Keller, Jones, Priester. Like Jones hasn't been that great lately too. So there's been a lot of holes there. So I'll have to kind of wait and see. New York Mets, they have the 5-game slate because they will be in London over the weekend. They got 3 at the Washington Nationals, and they head overseas to face the Phillies for 2. You mentioned the hitting environment in London, so that's always great. But what are we thinking here? It looks like 3 lefties, 2 righties. Yeah,
I've got my eye on like what they're doing at third base, the Brett Beatty versus Mark Vientos. It's like it's not a strict platoon, it looks like, but they're kind of splitting playing time evenly. I think the winner, if someone emerges from that and starts to play regularly between Beatty and Vientos, I think that's interesting in deeper leagues. Outside of that battle, I don't know. I'm not too thrilled with the Mets. Rough week for the Mets. Francisco Lindor had 4 hits today, though.
Yes, after he called a players only meeting, so that was big
and
stuff.
Pete Alonso didn't break his hand, which is also good.
He's bruised. He was taking infield practice, so he's day-to-day, so he's looking good too.
Yeah.
The Yankees, one of the hottest teams in all of baseball, 6 games, all at home, 3 versus the Twins, 3 versus the Dodgers, all right-handed pitching. You're not really adding a whole lot, though, unfortunately.
No, I mean, the only like platoon thing they're really doing is Austin Wells, Trevino at catcher, and Austin Wells has not been hitting at all. hopefully this is Anthony Rizzo week, man. We were talking a little bit off about how bad Anthony Rizzo. I think we kind of bagged him a few weeks ago, gave him a Gene Segura handout, and he started to hit, but then Rizzo has done very little of late, reverting back to Gene Segura ways of doing nothing well in your lineup. So I think I'm still rolling with Rizzo this week, but patience is wearing thin there, man.
Yeah, you got to start him this week in these matchups, but it's one of those if it ain't this week, might not be coming. So yeah, get on the train. It's tougher. It's not like walks in the parks either. So he's got some tough matchups ahead.
It is. I mean, it is a pretty tough. It is a pretty tough schedule. I don't know who that last LA pitcher will be. We got stoned twice.
It might be Bobby Miller.
Okay, that would line up with.
Yeah, Bobby would get the first Stone start, and Stone get the one after that. Looks like
makes sense. So yeah, pretty tough schedule.
Oakland Athletics, they have 6 games this week, all at home. They get Seattle for 3, Toronto for 3, 6 right-handed pitchers. Like this could be a JJ Bleday in deeper format situation. The A's are actually heating. I wouldn't say heating up, but over the last month, still hitting very well. First right-handed pitching, like surprised me because it feels like they're slumping, but they're actually producing. I just wrote them up for something. So don't sleep on the A's, but at the same time, some very tough pitching matchups.
Yeah, some tough pitching matchups, and I'm looking at maybe I like the Bleday call. Seth Brown is mildly, has some power and some speed, 5 homers, 4 steals, and 151 plate appearances. Not much of a plate approach at all, so you're kind of sinking your batting average. If you go with Seth Brown, I probably wouldn't even do it anyway because it is your Seattle righties. And then Bassett, who has turned things around lately, Kevin Gossman, and maybe Alek Manoah on the back half. So that outside of Manoah, that's a pretty tough week for Oakland. So I don't think I'm going anywhere here.
Yeah, like in the deepest of formats, if you need a little bit of help, Soderstrom should get to play a lot with that many righties, but I'm not love with Soderstrom either.
No.
Philadelphia, they got 5 games this week. They start the week 3 at home versus Milwaukee, then they go overseas to face the Mets in this one. 2 lefties, 3 righties. Most of your Philadelphia Phillies are rostered.
Agreed. Nothing really actionable here. Whit Merrifield, I thought maybe against lefties would play all the time, but even that's not kind of happening. So
I guess that means we could mention Johan where did he go? Did I spell it wrong?
Johan Rojas?
No, who the heck? I just totally blanked. Give me a second here. I feel like a dum-dum, but that's just normal. That's what you guys listen to the show for. But Edmundo Sosa. Edmundo Sosa is playing every day at shortstop for the Philadelphia Phillies, 22% rostered in 12s. And he's actually hitting quite a bit lately. And then he gets on base and he can run a little. And he hasn't stolen any base, but he scores a lot of runs, a little bit of pop. So deeper formats, talking about that middle infield holes out there these days. A guy like Edmundo Sosa, especially in that Phillies lineup heading overseas, could be at least a deeper league middle infield target. Someone to think about as a Phillies option out there. So glad I started the show for that. Pittsburgh Pirates.
I'm not all that thrilled about Edmundo Sosa.
I could tell, but go cough it up. Pittsburgh Pirates, they have 6 games this week, all at home. They get the Dodgers for 3, the Twins for 3.
Dude, you held up the show like 5 minutes for some Edmundo Sosa. That was good.
Hey, I can't wait till next week.
That was worth it.
Can't wait till next week on Tuesday. But I can't wait till we look at him go to London, hit 4 home runs on the weekend. And I can tell you, it's like the Bo Bichette O'Neal Cruz thing. It's working out.
You were all excited. Like, all right, I got someone, and then oh, it's Edmundo Sosa. Well, yeah, watch him hit a couple of homers in London. That'll be my luck.
Yeah. You're welcome. Pittsburgh Pirates, they have 6 games this week, 5 versus righties, all at home. Dodgers, Twins. Not the easiest of pitching matchups, but it sets up well for one of the most added players on CBS that we'll talk about, Nicky Gonzalez, and a few other options out there. But Gonzalez should definitely get going. And Gialdi real quick says KC would love Bubba Starling. Yeah, that would be nice. But okay, where are you at on the Pittsburgh Pirates?
No, agree on the Nick Gonzalez call. I think the scouting folks like Nick Gonzalez, and he's been hitting pretty well, and he's playing every single day. We had a comment in the chat. So Connor Joe is here, and this is just, again, a random kind of rabbit hole we'll go down while we go through teams. We had a comment in the Wednesday night show from Michael, who said, I think it was Bryce Harper and Josh Naylor are 1 and 2 at first base.
Yeah.
First base has been awful this season, and Connor Joe, for whatever reason, is what is reminding me of this. Connor Joe's the 11th ranked first baseman per the Razzball Player Rater this year. Like, that's how bad first base has been.
Brutal.
That's all I got. But
brutal stuff there. So maybe you go roster Connor Joe this week if you're feeling it. San Diego Padres, they have 7 games this week. They head to the Angels for 4, and then at home versus the Arizona Diamondbacks for 3. So good little series there for the Angels. Nice pitching matchups, but 3 lefties, 4 righties. I mean, for the Padres, 3 lefties, 4 righties makes the platoon situation pretty complicated.
Yeah, and they don't really platoon much anyway, outside of the vaunted David Peralta, Donovan Solano,
and we
DH platoon. So yeah, so yes, we move on.
I like Edmundo Sosa better than those two.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I will give you that at least. At the very least, I'll agree with you on that one.
San Francisco Giants, they play 6 next week, all on the road, 3 at the D-backs, 3 at the Texas Rangers. Pretty good set of matchups, honestly, because Gallen might not even be there after Thursday's outing. Ryan Nelson's been hit and miss. Urania, Lorenzen, 5 righties on the docket, so no Lamont Wade, obviously, if you've paid attention to that situation. But Brett Wisely has been balling out, playing shortstop every day. He should play against all the righties. That would be the main focus for me if you're looking for someone in San Francisco to take a chance on this week.
That's what I was wondering about, and you're the Giants guy, so I don't really know much about Wisely. Is he a big prospect? He's 25, but
he was called up last year because he was a guy that hit like 300 without a little with no power and stuff, and then he just first time around couldn't do anything. He's come up this year though, and he's produced quite well and playing every day. So like Luciano gets to play every here and there while Wisely gets a day off. It's Wisely's gig right now.
Weren't they going to play like Luciano for a while, and then they kind of pulled the plug on that pretty quickly? The defense was pretty horrendous.
Defense is bad, and the hit tool just has not transferred to the big league level. It's the second year in a row. It just has not. Given he hasn't had a fair shake this year, but it just has not transferred yet for him. So
yeah,
not good. Seattle Mariners, they have 6 games next week, all on the road, 3 at Oakland, 3 at the Kansas City Royals, 3 lefties, 3 righties. Enjoy your platoon situation, folks.
Yeah, and continue to enjoy your Dylan Moore, who's very good against lefties. But yes, your platoon, your Josh Rojas, your Luke Raley, your Dominic Canzone are not you're not rolling with those guys this week, even though the schedule is pretty decent against just 3 right-handed pitchers. So not much action here. It's just more of an avoid, really.
Yeah, pretty much pass on that one. St. Louis Cardinals, they have 7 games this week. They have 3 at the Houston Astros, then 4 at home versus Colorado, which is kind of a bummer. All at home, but still good matchups in general. 2 lefties, 5 righties. Cardinals are doing Cardinals things. Is the nice, like they're actually hitting very well. 130 WRC plus versus righties over the last month, which is a shocker to me. Hitting close to 250. So yeah, if you can find, like, if Mason Wynn's still out there, been banging that drum forever. Nolan Gorman is on fire. Alec Burleson we talked about. Like there's some dudes to look at if available.
Yes, Gorman had a very slow start, but has been on fire lately. I think somewhat under the radar. Is he playing though against?
Oh no, he'll get the 5 starts. He'll sit versus the lefties.
Yeah, well, he started their last 2. The Cardinals played lefties on Monday and Tuesday, and Gorman started. So that's
a good start then, because that's not been happening.
Yep, that's encouraging. So yeah, Nolan Gorman for sure. I know you like your Mason Wynn. Bi-weekly, is Tommy Edman alive? Check. Is not promising. Not promising. I've got the latest RotoWire blurb on Tommy Edman is that he took soft toss on May 14th. So
yeah, it's not.
The answer
good.
to
Not
this
good,
Tommy
folks.
Edman alive is questionable.
It's a good Freudian slip right there. Good Freudian slip. Alec Burleson, 65% rostered in 12s. He's another guy to keep an eye on. Like there's a lot of outfield options this week, so you got some ways to go if you need to. Tampa Bay Rays, 5 games this week, as you mentioned earlier. They get 2 at Miami, then 3 at home versus Baltimore. Pretty much going to pass on this. 3 lefties, 2 righties. Does not feel appetizing.
Yeah, in just 5 games overall with that split, and they platoon the hell out of their guys, and even the regulars, Yandy Diaz. We talked about Randy Arozarena last show in a very depressing tone, but no action here with Tampa. Their fringe guys are platooners, and it's a 3-2 split with lefty righty. So I don't see much.
Texas Rangers, they get 6 games this week, all at home. 3 versus Detroit, 3 versus the Giants, 2 lefties, 4 righties. They do get Flaherty in the mix there. They get Webb in the mix there, but then some other pretty sweet matchups for Texas if you can find like a Leody Taveras hanging out still and stuff like that. But what are you looking for in Texas?
That's pretty much it. Taveras. I mean, we talked about the Evan Carter IL stint being replaced by some version of Robbie Grossman and Travis Jankowski. I'm not all that interested in that. And yes, your good Rangers are rostered. Josh Smith is hitting third against righties.
He's flailing right now though.
But yes, has struggled. Agreed. Has struggled. So I don't know. I can't really recommend him.
Unleash Ezekiel. Unleash him, please. Like Smith is fun. Man. I rostered Smith for a while, then I dropped him. Like let Ezekiel do some things.
I've got him in He plays everywhere, but free Ezekiel. Yeah, Ezekiel has started 4 of the last 6, so there's that. But yeah, I would like to see more from Ezekiel Duran.
Toronto Blue Jays, they have 7 games this week. They have 4 at home versus Baltimore and then 3 at the Oakland Athletics. That's a good weekend series. More importantly, the Blue Jays face 7 right-handed pitchers, so all their matchups are versus right-handed pitchers. So if you want to Kevin, no, there's not a lot of platoon situations in this team.
No, should be a great week for Davis Schneider, but he's picked up everywhere. No, man, you don't want to go Kevin Kiermaier. You don't want to go IKF.
IKF's actually been producing. IKF's actually been producing the last.
Actually, no, you're right. Yeah, I shouldn't. I mean, it's IKF, but you're right. He has been producing.
Yeah. Last team on the dock here, the Washington Nationals. They got 7 games this week, all at home. They have the Mets for 3, the Braves for 4. They own the Braves right now, so that'll be a fun series. But 3 lefties, 4 righties. Not a whole lot to like. Lane Thomas is not sitting out there on your waiver wire, so not a whole lot for me on this one at least.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. Joey Gallo, congrats on becoming an upcoming father.
That was a wild story.
Off base, but yes, that was a wild story. It's about all I got for the Nats.
Yeah, that was a wild one there. So, yeah, fun set of schedules. A handful of 5s. The teams with some of the best matchups are pretty much widely rostered, so that's a bummer. But you do have a lot of outfield options to target this week with a few strays here and there. Bloomfield, let's talk most added players on CBS. And we hinted at the top guy here earlier. Nick Gonzalez offensively has been the most added guy. Jake Myers makes sense. But Blade, Burleson, Duvall, Vierling, these are all guys we've talked about quite a bit lately, have moved their way up the ladder on this one. There's Edmundo Sosa, by the way. He's moved up 8 percentage points this week.
Where is he at? There he is.
Yeah,
there's your guy.
That out there to you, so you can just take that one and spin for a bit. What else do you like on this list?
Nice call, man. Up from 6 to 14. I like that.
Yeah. Big jump, 14%. Yep. 12% barrel rate. I'm just gonna throw it out there. So there's something.
I kind of treat this as our test. That the answer to the test of did we cover the right guys in the previous segment with the schedule, and it looks like we did pretty much cover everyone. If I had to rank kind of this group, I think I'd go Duvall first as your top ad, because I think that's not just a streaming ad, that's an ad for the next 6+ weeks and maybe even longer if Atlanta decides to not make a move post Acuna injury. So a lot of these other guys are decent streamers. You talked about Blade. I like Jake Myers as more than a streamer ad this week. I like Nick Gonzalez as more than a streamer ad this week. Maybe Matt Vierling as well, who shows up on the list from going up from 7% to 21%. Would like to see him run a little bit. Has not attempted a stolen base, which is that SBA column that those of you on the stream are looking at. That's your stolen base attempt rate. And yeah, let's see what happens with Tyler Freeman. He's on the riser list, but yeah, given the Quan news, I don't know. Still got to think he stays in the lineup, just maybe doesn't lead off. I hope.
Yeah, you would think he does, but yeah, time will tell on that one. But yeah, I'm with you on the obvious long-term plays, Gonzalez, Myers, Duvall. I've got Verlaine in a lot of DC, so he's been playing a ton for me. But
Yep.
Mason Wynn, he's still sitting there up to 45% finally, so that's nice to see. Patrick Bailey, Danny Jansen are a couple of catchers out there. If you're needing them, I still like Corey Lee as well. If you need someone, Kyber Ruiz is down here. He's heating up at the plate, so if people did give up on him, go check your waiver wires out. Kyber Ruiz would be a guy that might find.
Bubba cut out again, so I'll jump in. It's funny, the Adam Duvall. For all we talked about Adam Duvall, we have not even mentioned Jared Kelenic, who does show up on this list from 33% up to 40%. So a pretty good rise post Acuna. But as you can see from the numbers, 32% K rate for Kelenic. I mean, it's not happening. So I'm not even comparing those two really, Adam Duvall and Jared Kelenic. I don't think it's really all that close. Tommy Pham is like rising every week. I still don't know why he's just 33%. That's our weekly rant. There. Any of these other kind of softer risers? Miguel Andujar, my former guy.
I thought when he hit his first home run the other night, that was big. But like Kevin Pillar's here, like I know we joke about him, but he's producing right now. So run that while you can. There's IKF sitting there in deeper formats. His flexibility has been quite good. Jock Jams is down here, and then Jose Miranda is one I'm really curious with. Royce Lewis coming back. I want to see what they do with Miranda because Miranda's been playing very, very well. I've used him in some deeper leagues at third base to fill the gap. And then there's your boy Noelvi Marte. He's up to 34% in CBS, so he's up to 34%, 2% rise this week. So people have looked at him. He's towards the bottom. So he's a guy that's moving up too. The one other guy I'll mention right above Noelvi is Ty France. Looks like things are starting to turn in the right direction for Ty France. So I would, if you're looking for some quarter infield potential power, at least batting average, Ty France would be a guy. If he's on your wire, like you might start taking a chance. Like he'd be probably a good replacement for potentially Anthony Rizzo, something like that. That would be a way to go if you're looking for a first base.
I think I could get behind that. I was a big Ty France fan this draft season. He was one of those guys who popped on like pulled barrel lists in 2023. And so if you liked him entering draft season, it's only in quotes been 2 months. So I like the Ty France call. Just category wise, it's nice to be able to look down kind of the batting average color, the home run color, and then the stolen base color. Jorge Mateo absolutely sticks out as a stolen base source. Like if you need bags, you can go there. David Hamilton, a little bit less so, but I think he is playing shortstop most of the time in Boston, but that's just a deep league play. David Hamilton is 7% rostered in CBS.
Yep, most definitely. I do like Pat in the chat here. I just Googled the Joey Gallo fatherhood article. Thanks a lot, guys.
Oh, it's a peach. Yeah. It's a gem.
Yep, absolute gem. Speaking of gems, let's talk starting pitchers most out of this week. And this is a fun one because Ben Brown leads the way here. And Ben Brown has been outstanding his last few starts, especially his last start, 7 shutout with 10 Ks. Great stuff there from Ben Brown. People still think that with Jordan Wicks coming back that he'll take that spot in the roster when in a perfect world, Ben Brown should not be going back to the bullpen. That's just atrocious. So if Ben Brown is available, which he is, and he's only rostered in 28% or whatever in CBS, but in OCs, he's only 32% rostered. He should be one of the top starting pitching targets this week in FPC formats.
That should go up based on what Ben Brown did. I think this is one where you trust that the Cubs are going to do the right thing here and put the skills where they need to go, and that's in the rotation. Ben Brown, all 3 indicators that we've got here on the FAAB preview sheet, strikeout minus walk, swinging strike, and ball rate are all green. That is that's awesome when you're throwing strikes, getting whiffs, and the K minus BB is right there with it. So Ben Brown is going to be popular. That's the thing, though. It's I think it's going to cost a pretty penny as I start to lose the ability to speak at the end here. But Ben Brown's going to cost, but I think he's given what we've seen starting pitching this year, it's I think he's worth it.
Yeah, people are going to be spending on Spencer Schwellenbach. I'm still not there yet. The skill sets in the minors, like there's a lot of pitch to contact to me, so I'm not running to do it. I could see why people do. Ryan Weathers has been great. He keeps proving me wrong. I'm still waiting for that other shoe to drop. Like looking at the numbers you have here, it's not ideal. The one that surprises me though is Tyler McGill, still only 25% roster. Like I know he had that first start against the Dodgers and he was awesome, but the dude is a really good pitcher. I don't know what people are like sleeping on this one. That's just a confusing one for me. He is 67% roster no C's now, so that's good. But Tyler McGill would be another one on this list that I probably have right next. I might have him ahead of Ben Brown, honestly, on this list.
Yeah, they're close. I like that. I that's a good call. I might go McGill.
McGill's
Brown
locked
as
into the
well.
rotation where Brown literally could get screwed and wouldn't be pissed, but he could get screwed.
McGill's gonna at least till the next IL stint starts coming. But yes, Tyler McGill, he looked awesome against LA. I think that was Monday. Of course, didn't get the win because that's 2024. But yes, Tyler McGill is. I agree. I think I'd go McGill over Ben Brown if I had to.
So that's a fun one. Gomber's been pitching great. Again, the numbers don't look good. Gomber and Quantrill both pitched great. If you really wanted to go down those, if you're a Mad Max fan like the movies, you might like rostering Gomber and Quantrill. So knock yourself out there. But Jeff Hoffman is a reliever on this list. I would pay attention to. He's been getting a lot more love in the back end of those games lately in Philadelphia. So he'd be someone I'd maybe stash or add depth if you need him.
I mean, the reliever I think is Jeremiah Estrada, though. I mean, good God, dude! Like he gets enough strikeouts.
The new Reed Garrett.
Yeah, for at least as long as I think he was DFA'd by the Cubs.
Yeah, the Cubs let him go for free. Yeah, that was a fun one
last year. So that's a tough scene, especially given the state of the Cubs bullpen right now.
Yeah. There have not been any tweets by Cubs fans on Twitter mentioning it, I promise.
I'm sure.
Nowhere to be found.
Sure. Apologies to Sarah Sanchez for rubbing that one in as well. But Jeremiah Estrada is getting strikeouts like a normal starting pitcher is right now, and comes with much less ratio risk than some of these back end starting pitchers. So I think Jeremiah Estrada is kind of one of those, like, if you don't get a Ben Brown or a Tyler McGill, or I'd throw maybe Waldron up there, I don't know, but like if you don't get a pitcher that you like, I think Estrada is a fine backup as opposed to going with some fringe back end starting pitcher. So I like that. Cade Povich is one who's interesting to me as well. Mm-hmm. Right. A rise from 13% to 20% in CBS leagues. Povich is in AAA for Baltimore right now. Povich threw 126 innings last year. So workload is not that big of a deal. 33% strikeout rate in AAA right now for Cade Povich. 8.8% walk rate, tons of whiffs. So if you have room to stash it, if you can pick up minor leaguers, you may want to take a swing at Cade Povich. I'm not going to pretend to predict when we're going to see him, but I think it'll happen at some point.
It should happen sooner than later, it feels like, but we said that before with all the injuries, and then they go back to Albert Suarez, or Cole Irvin's pitching well, so he deserves to be there right now, honestly. But they just keep getting injuries in that rotation, so it feels like eventually is Albert Suarez, a 35-year-old, the guy you want to stop Cade Povich from starting? That's where I think the door could open. When Means went down, when Kramer went down, that should have been Cade Povich. Should have got one of those spots, but we'll have to kind of wait and see on that one. The rest of the list, it's a lot of streamers for me. Like it's except Jeffrey Springs, who should be back in 3 to 4 weeks if you want to stash there too.
Okay, so that being pulled from his rehab start wasn't that bad of a.
The reports are still saying 3 to 4 weeks. I'm not stashing him. I've told people in my Substack that messaged me. I said I already don't like guys coming back from Tommy John. Anyways, it takes usually like a year to get back to normal. But the latest report was Springs was back throwing on Thursday.
Chat's cracking us up with these Maury Povich jokes while we try.
The chat's been on fire tonight.
We're trying to run a podcast here. Yeah, it's been the Tommy Pham Atlanta talk has been good. Some Joey Gallo talk as well. But no, when I saw Jeffrey Springs, I think I mentioned Springs last week as like maybe stash. When I saw him leave his rehab start after like couple pitches. No, I'm not doing that.
Yep, that is good as well. All right, you ready to talk two steps?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's talk some two steps here. And a lot of these are not locked in yet. I'm going to tell you, because usually when we look at the RotoWire grid, they bold players locked in. That is not the case yet with so many injuries and moving pieces. So I'm going to be very upfront on this one. We'll start with Arizona. You got Ryan Nelson, and see, they have Slade Ciccone coming in for Zach Gallen right now. That's who they put in here, because it looks like Gallen might have to go to the IL with a hamstring. That's still up in the air. So if we'll just speculate, Nelson and Slade Ciccone, you get the Giants and the Padres. Are you in on them?
I'd go Ciccone probably in 15 teamers. I wouldn't go Ryan Nelson if it shakes out that way.
I think I'm with you on that, because the Giants are doing just enough to mess with Nelson, but Ciccone I'm in on, so I could see that as well, especially in 15s. Max Fried, Boston, Washington, you're playing that one. Baltimore, Grayson Rodriguez, Corbin Burns, you're probably playing those.
Yep.
Boston, you're playing Cutter Crawford. Chicago, you're playing Imanaga. Okay, Cincinnati.
Oh,
Abbott and Montas at Colorado, at home versus the Cubs.
I think you throw both of them in 15s. I just again, it's the Coors scares you, but Colorado doesn't. So I'd probably roll with both, but it's. Ugh.
Montas. I'd roll with Montas even in 12s. I'm fine with that. Abbott's 15 onlys, but Montas I'd go 12s, because there is the upside there. Cleveland, Tristan McKenzie versus Kansas City at Miami.
Yeah, I think you got to go for the Miami alone, and hope the versus Kansas City plays out. Tristan McKenzie's been wildly consistent, but 3.77 ERA so far, not too bad. He's been serviceable.
Yeah, serviceable, but I'm not a Tristan dude. Colorado, Feltner, Blug. No, you're not starting either one of them. White Sox, Woodford. No, it's good.
You can put Woodford on reserve.
Damn, bravo, friend. Detroit, you're starting Skubal. Houston, Verlander versus St. Louis at the Angels.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Verlander just struck out 9 Mariners. Like, I don't know how this dude is doing this. He's throwing like 94. He's 40 years old. It's just, the dude's a freak.
Well, he's got the best pillows at home to sleep on, so that works out well for him. You got the Kansas City Royals, Seth Lugo at Cleveland versus the Mariners.
Yes,
I'm with you. Tyler Anderson, this is a good one, versus San Diego versus Houston.
This one's tricky. This one's tricky because it's a tough two-step, but Tyler Anderson does have a 2.47 ERA. Like, I think you do it, but I feel like Tyler Anderson's. I feel like he's a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, 15s you do. 12s, I think you're going to, as long as you can afford to have a blow up, which most people have had enough by now, so it probably doesn't matter anymore. But as bad as it feels like the Padres haven't been good, but you look at their stats, they hit lefties very well. So the Astros are the Astros. So that's a tough one. 15s for sure. 12s, that's definitely a league dependent situation on that one. Minnesota, Bailey Ober at the Yankees at Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Yep.
Luis Eel, yes. Oakland, Joey Estes versus Seattle versus Toronto.
No.
Nope. Pittsburgh, Jared Jones versus the Dodgers versus the Twins.
Yep, but keep an eye on this recent slide against versus LA.
Mr. Jones. Padres, Waldron, Darvish, if Darvish pitches at the Angels versus Arizona.
Yeah, that's a pretty good set of matchups, right?
Yep. You're doing both of those. Kirby at Oakland, at Kansas City. That's a yes. St. Louis, Kyle Gibson at Houston versus Colorado. Gibson's been pretty good lately too.
I know, but you know how two steps.
That means the blow up's coming. Yes, blow up's coming.
I'd roll with Gibson in a 15. The versus Colorado is just awesome.
Yep.
At Houston scares the living hell out of me.
Yep, I think you're doing it in 12s and deeper, but just expect the worst on Monday. He might be your Criswell this week. So just keep that in mind. Texas, Nate Eovaldi versus Detroit versus the Giants. Yes.
Yep.
Toronto, Gossman. Yes. Manoah might not even be pitching, so we'll have to kind of play that one by ear. But if Manoah pitches, Baltimore and at Oakland.
I would do it. Yep,
Okay,
I would do it.
I'm not. I'm out. Washington, we're definitely going Mackenzie Gore. Trevor Williams, first the Mets, first Atlanta. We have a Trevor
Yeah,
Williams question coming up.
Trevor Williams of a 2.29 ERA.
Yep.
The underlying skills aren't like half bad. The control's pretty decent. The ground ball rate's up from 40% to 47%. So Trevor Williams is keeping the ball on the ground. No, he's not a 228 guy, but could he be a high threes ERA type of pitcher? Perhaps. That said, I'd start him in 15s. I wouldn't go in 12s. I mean, the Atlanta thing scares you, but like we just talked about earlier on the show, they really haven't been that great lately. So you kind of have to get over that bias.
Yep. Yeah, Williams, I'm still rolling with. That's been a thing I've had for a while, especially in 15s. Like he's really, really strong in those formats. All right, there's your FAAB preview, folks. We got some listener questions. We'll start with the questions I started from the chat, the ones I could keep up with. If I missed them, I apologize. We'll start with Pat Monahan here. He says, how do we feel about Albert Suarez on Friday? That's a fun one here. Let me actually pull up who they're facing.
Well, Baseball HQ matchups writer on Fridays.
He's facing Tampa Bay. I don't feel great about Albert Suarez in general, but it is a great matchup against Tampa Bay. I'll say that much. I'm not writing him up in my slew of people on Friday, but Tampa Bay is not the scary situation it once was. It just depends on, are you looking for strikeouts or not? Suarez doesn't strike out that many guys to me.
I'll go ahead and leak the from behind the paywall the matchup score for at HQ. We have an awesome starting pitcher matchup tool, which is what runs Bubba's columns, and he just writes the analysis. I use it all the time. Albert Suarez gets a 0.3 rating against Tampa tomorrow, which is just very marginal. So, yeah, I'm not too enthused.
It's not a must by any means. But then again, Ronaldo Lopez, pretty close by. Uncle Ted in the chat here. Y'all think Bednar will be traded and Colin Holderman closes? Here's my thoughts, because you asked. Colin Holderman is the guy I want to stash if I'm stashing a Pittsburgh reliever, which is a gigantic if. Bednar should have been traded 2 years ago, but he has so much team control. At least the Pirates are staying strong, demanding to get a return. So it's $1 million. Like, we thought he'd be traded every year. So
that's where I'm at.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at. It's like maybe this is the year they finally do it, but we've been talking about the Pirates trading Bednar for a long time. So I don't know. And you can't speculate on a closer with someone whose last name is Holderman. So that doesn't
saves
work
him, Holderman.
Yeah. So he's obviously not destined for the ninth.
Nope, not at all. Stephen Crawford said, in a category league with saves, how many relief pitchers do you think is a good number to roster? 3 to 4, at least 3, I'd say.
I typically run with 3, sometimes 4, depending on what the state of my starting pitching is. And that's out of a 9 pitcher starting lineup. Some leagues I've got 4 relievers going sometimes. Most of the time it's 2 or 3, but on the roster I've got like 3 or 4 to either churn, or if it's like a Holderman, you want to spec on a saves guy, or if it's just a Jeremiah Estrada, who's just someone who,
that's the follow up, Steve. That's the follow up Steven has here.
Okay.
Any value in having a Hoffman or an Estrada on the roster for
yes.
ERA whip?
Yeah,
there you go.
There's absolutely value, and Hoffman even gets saves. It's very hard to time when it's going to happen, but yes, there is absolutely value in having those elite relievers that don't have a shot at the ninth. I think if you plug those in over like a Ryan Feltner, more times than not, you're probably doing more good than harm to your roster.
Yep. Like in a situation like that where saves are the points, would you rather have Hoffman over Estrada, even though Estrada's got the strikeout upside?
Good question. Probably go Hoffman if I had to pick, just because.
I think I'd want the chance at the saves, because I don't see Robert Suarez losing that job anytime soon. Where at least in Philly, like you said, he's going to get his options here. There. So would you rather have Reed Garrett or Estrada?
Probably Reed Garrett. Slipped a little bit lately, but the way the Mets use him,
He got the
especially
save on Thursday too.
exactly, especially with the Edwin Diaz injury. Yeah. Michael Chigini in the chat. Matt Strom is another one. I agree with that.
Edgardo Carrero in the chat says, guys in a points league where wins are important, would you start Montas at Colorado versus San Diego over Keller versus Joe Ryan? So Mitch Keller or the two-step Montas points league where wins are important. I go Montas.
Yeah, it depends how important I guess wins are, but if based solely on wins, I'd go Montas too.
Yeah. Plus, he can accumulate more strikeouts and stuff in a points league. So I go Montas in that one. Two steps are even more ridiculously valuable in points leagues, which gets crazy. Twitter questions here. Rand Simon says, would like to get your thoughts on Trevor Williams, who has 2 starts next week, Mets in Atlanta, and is available in my OCs. He has allowed 0 or 1 and run in 7 of his last 8 starts. And how big of a bit, or no, we'll start there. So we both said we'd be in on Trevor Williams, but just no, you feel like the blow-up's coming, but like you said, the peripherals aren't as bad as you'd expect.
Yeah, the peripherals aren't as bad as we would normally expect out of a Trevor Williams season. Like for example, the Sierra, which is what we always used, which is a ERA indicator on Fangraphs, just purely based on the skills, has gone from 509 last season, which is awful, down to 388 this year. Trevor Williams has added a sweeper, and he's getting whiffs with it. 16% swing strike rate on this new sweeper that he throws pretty much 1/5 of the time. Doesn't throw it for strikes very often, but it's at least something different in the arsenal that that might back some of this up. So Trevor Williams, like I said earlier, I think he probably ends up with like a 4 ERA the rest of the way. But again, given the state of pitching right now, that's not like the worst thing.
I'm with you. And he's getting wins, which is crazy. Rand's other question, how big of a bid to win Josh Lowe in an OC? I'm going to tell you this right now. On April 21st, when I won Josh Lowe in an OC, I bid 277. He went for 156. He's going to go for 120 plus, I'd imagine. Like people are going to be fawning over Josh Lowe. Him and Duvall will be a fun one, but Lowe really shouldn't be that widely available, I wouldn't think. But I'd go at least 120. But what are your thoughts on that one?
I defer to you. You're the OC king.
Yeah, he's 94% roster. So 6% of leagues are be fighting for Josh Lowe. So have fun with that one.
And that is a good way to, like, for someone you don't really know, it could be huge. Look at the roster rate and see, like, is it 70%? Then maybe it's not as much. Or is it 94? Then you're probably spending, well into triple digits.
Michael Cicchini says, kind of the Trevor Williams thing. Would you rather have Mitch Parker or Trevor Williams? Probably Mitch Parker.
I would go Parker over Williams on that rotation.
Pat Monahan in the chat here says, now that Sean Murphy is back, where do you rank him amongst catchers? Easy catcher one, or does he have to prove it? For me, he still doesn't play every day. That's always been my argument for Sean Murphy. The skills are really good. Catching landscape's bad enough this year where he could probably sneak in a 12 team as a catcher one, but he just doesn't play every day. So he's probably a back end catcher one. Yes.
That feels like, in a one catcher league, I feel like Murphy's a streamer, a fringe guy.
Yeah.
In a 2-catcher league, sure, he's solid, but yeah, you're right. I mean, he started 3 out of 4, but I since he returned from the IL, but I know they're going to mix in Travis d'Arnaud as they can. So
that's why I've just always been out. Our buddy calling my shot. How would you rank these guys for the next 4 to 6 weeks, 15 team standard 5x5? Tyler Freeman, Jake Myers, Andrew Vaughn, Will Benson. I'll let you go first. I have my theory though.
What was the first 2 names again?
Tyler Freeman, Jake Myers, Andrew Vaughn, Will Benson.
I'll go Myers and Freeman. Not looking at matchups, I don't know, but just based on skills, I go those 2.
If Freeman were to play every day, yes, I'm worried about playing time. So I'm going to go Myers, Vaughn, Freeman, Benson. But I get if Freeman keeps playing, he's ahead of Vaughn. So that'll be my caveat in that one. Another question we have here, Stephen Crawford says, take a victory lap. What has been your best under-the-radar move so far in 2024 season? Late round draft pick to hit, waiver wire pickup, other. Let's hear it.
So I will circle back to a fine evening in February where we did starting pitcher preview part 3.
Oh, yeah, that's a banger for you.
And I was mercifully mocked by you, by the chat, for recommending Jack Flaherty as an end game starting pitcher. And that's been, I think by far my best call so far this year. He is Jack Flaherty. And again, I didn't expect this, but that's my early victory lap. Jack Flaherty. He's been just unfreaking believable. Pitch allowed 1 hit tonight. I think 8 or 9 Ks, 1 walk. He's just awesome.
Got his second win of the year now. Thank God.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah, I can't really probably top that one. That's pretty damn impressive. I know I liked Mackenzie Gore a lot. I made the Robbie Ray comp on that one, so that was one I was in on. Nothing off the top of my head because I could say Ryan
Minnesota.
Jeffers.
Yep, Minnesota.
Ryan Jeffers or Luis Rengifo. Give me one of those two, I guess.
Well, mascot is.
I've been banging that drum since November. So I remember when I brought that up to you on the recap shows, you're like, what? And then we broke it down a little. We're like, he actually hasn't won that bad. So yeah, that's the dude for me. Edgardo in the chat here, wrong button, says, any reason to hold on to Ryan Nelson in Dynasty? Probably not.
I mean, it's probably a super deep league in Dynasty, but I don't see much long-term upside for Ryan Nelson.
This is why I love our listeners so much, because they were answering for me. Mike Chesko in the chat, the mascot. They know what's up. So it's good. We love you guys. Last thing I got here, I believe, when we have a few more, keep them coming. Bo from Gialdi, is Bo Naylor going to get sent down? I think he might, actually. I think he needs to.
I mean, he's done absolutely nothing. And he's young. I mean, like it makes sense for him to kind of reset.
I think he needs to go down and get it figured out because his hit tool is completely different from last year. So,
which
he needs to get work.
I will say, we just talked about victory lap. That is one of our whiffs.
Oh, that's a big miss for me. That's a big miss for me. Yeah.
No, same here.
It's nice to do victory laps. Yeah, it's nice to do victory laps because we definitely take our lumps very, very much on air on this show. So it's nice to do this once in a while.
Hey, my Bubba in the Bloom auction team 1 is now in 14th, man. I've ascended from the cellar.
Look at
14th
you.
place.
Don't call it a comeback.
That's right. Man.
All right. That'll wrap us up, folks. Final thoughts for week 11, Bloomfield.
No, actually, I mean, some good hitter ads, a couple solid pitcher ads. So
for once,
we didn't really talk about any potential closers, which is kind of par for the course.
Yeah,
for this year.
There's not much out there.
There's been really not much there. So, no, that's all I got, man. I've got real life update. I've got our oldest turns 5 this weekend. So we are
awesome. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
We're going to be celebrating with him and going to amusement parks and having a good time. So that's my Saturday. I can't wait.
Good. Enjoy. I'll be doing the water park again on Sunday because it's that time of the year. And she has been doing swim lessons and does not want to leave the water right now. So it's the best $80 I spend on that season pass every year. She just runs around and has a great time. So that'll be my weekend in a nutshell, and yard work and that. So appreciate you all in the chat. You guys were amazing tonight. That was fun.
I think most active chat we've ever had outside of like a live draft stream. And for it's May 30th at 10:30 Pacific time PM. Like, that's awesome. Thanks guys for hanging out.
Yep, crushed it as usual. We'll be back with you guys next Tuesday evening, recording and getting our stuff done. But until then, hope you guys have a great week, and check out Ryan on Twitter at RyanBHQ. I am at BDentrix Podcast at Bubba Bloom Pod. Until next time, you have a good one. Catch you later.